Now that your drawing is ready to go, before we can render, we need to set up the scenes that will create your VR walkthrough experience. Keep in mind you can render both 360 panoramas for VR and 2D perspectives. We will cover how to set up both. In SketchUp, adjust your perspective by using the orbit, pan, and zoom functions. When you're happy with the positioning, click the plus button under the Scenes heading to save your view. You can create multiple scenes by repeating those steps. By default, when you create new scenes, they will be named Scene 1, Scene 2, Scene 3, etc. If you would like to customize the naming, right-click on your scene and then select Rename. Please note you cannot have duplicate view names or special characters, or you will run into an error when rendering with Yulio Jump. When setting your scenes for a 360 panorama render for VR, there are a couple of key things to keep in mind. First, set your view, then move closer. We recommend adjusting your perspective and then move it even closer to the furniture than you think you need to. This is because when the render completes, you will find it is more zoomed out than expected. It's okay if you feel like you're almost standing on top of a desk or in a plant when you set your view. When you see the finished render, this view will actually work really well for a VR view. This will be the biggest change when beginning to render with Yulio Jump. However, once you run a few test renders, you will become a pro. Next, set your camera height. Camera height is one of the only render settings that Yulio Jump will acknowledge. We recommend setting your camera height to about 5'6" because that is a standard average height. However, you can get creative with it and raise your camera height up to create a bird's eye perspective or lower it down to show the technology under a desk. We've also seen users set the camera height to a seated height and then place the view directly on top of a chair. This creates a unique seated viewing perspective in VR. And lastly, create multiple views. The scenes that you set here in SketchUp will be the scenes that make up your VR project. We generally recommend that you place at least 2 to 3 scenes around your model. While a single scene can still give your clients an understanding of your space, it can leave a rather limited and stationary feel. Having more than one perspective gives your clients a more representative feel for the space and will help develop an impressive VR walkthrough. Note that the number of scenes you create will totally vary project to project. Smaller spaces may only require 3 to 4 scenes, versus larger spaces may require 10 plus to fully showcase the space. We also recommend thinking about the journey you would like your client to have while they're touring your virtual environment and plan out a bit of a route. For example, do you picture them entering at the front and moving clockwise throughout your space, or directly front to back? Think about that journey and then create your scenes accordingly. Creating your views for a 2D perspective render is much more straightforward because in this case, what you see is what you get. Simply set your desired view and click the plus button under the Scenes heading to save your view. When you render using Yulio Jump perspective, the result will be identical to your set view.